So my no start condition turned out to be a bad ignition switch. So I had to go out and get a new one. Here's the box it came in. It was about 28 bucks. I got mine from O'Reilly's, but they're in stock at almost any place you want to go, AutoZone, Napa, etc. To get to it, you got to take your knee bolster panel off. So there's a plastic panel sitting over there. And there's two bolts down here that hold it in place. They're 10 millimeters, and then there's just a couple of clips. You got to just get either a pry tool or a screwdriver in here and just kind of pop it off. It comes off. And then you've got a metal plate that also bolts on there, also held in by a couple of bolts. Those actually turned out in my car to be a mixture of 8 and 7 millimeter. I suspect that is because somebody had this panel off before. They're likely supposed to be both 8. And then there's yet another metal brace in there. This one you don't have to take off all the way. You can see how mine is hanging from one end. But there was actually a 7 millimeter bolt there that I had to take off to get that. And what you're trying to get to when you're replacing the ignition switch is actually up under here. And a little hard to see, but it is that plastic setup right there. And so that we've got a plastic piece here that just kind of holds the wiring harness against the switch, and you've got a couple of tabs you got to pull out. The plastic here is pretty desiccated, so don't be surprised if it cracks off of there. But then once you're in there, you've got a couple of Torx bolts that you got to get off of there, and mine, this is a 98 Mustang, used a T30, so a T30 for both of those bolts. There's one here and there's actually one up in here. You got to get both of these off, then it'll drop down, and then there's another 7 millimeter bolt that actually holds the wiring harness here. This holds the wiring harness right here actually onto the switch. So once you get these Torx bolts off, this will drop down, and then you'll be able to see this 7 millimeter bolt that you've got unscrewed to actually separate the wiring harness from the switch. And then it's pretty easy to snap the new switch on, and then installation is just the reverse of all this. You just got to put it all back together. But that is what solved my no start condition. I had checked everything, starter, battery, wires, actually replaced the starter. Nothing was helping. I had a very, very weak crank. It would crank it about a quarter turn. That was about it. I was thinking bad starter, bad solenoid. Starter actually turned out to not be the issue because it was this switch. We had bad continuity between the power and start poles here in the switch. So put in a new switch, and now everything works great. If you found this video helpful, please like and subscribe for more how-tos on repairing an SN95 Mustang.